Brady Martin and Matthew Wood are making Andrew Brunette's job much, much more difficult. We'll tell you how on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off our Wednesday episode shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders community and, of course, our everydayers who tune in to talk Preds hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and Friends. I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingan, and I'm an NHL reporter and host with the Hockey News.
Well, the Nashville Predators lost a preseason game last night in a shootout that they basically had no business losing. We're going to talk about that game, but there were two standout players, Brady Martin and Matthew Wood. Today, we're going to break down their performances, discuss just how difficult they are making Andrew Brunette's job right now. We're also going to share a few concerns we still have at this point in the preseason. Before we dive into all that, we do want to let you know today's episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Emma, Predators had a preseason game last night. They lost 3-2 in a shootout to the Tampa Bay Lightning-ish. So we've talked about this a little bit in the preseason, and what tends to happen is teams that are traveling don't have their veterans come with the team on the road. It's just something that they typically don't do. And that was the case for Tampa Bay. I think only 5 of their players had NHL experience. Oliver Bjorkstrand was by far the most tenured player in the NHL. Their goaltender has one NHL game under his belt. That was a little bit of a loss for him, but we don't judge here. So this was not like we were facing Kucherov here. So it's a little interesting that the Predators, who started, I would say, the spine of their NHL roster, did not come away with a win. But, you know, it's the preseason. So grain of salt, that bad boy.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville jumped out to an early 2-0 lead, which we will get to as far as who scored both of those goals. We will get to that in a moment. But I think that, you know, Tampa was able to come back. It gets to the shootout again. It's like, it happens, you know.
Yeah.
I think overall, I am really reserving my judgment. Well, I'm not reserving my judgment. When have I ever reserved judgment? But I am trying not to read too much into the Predators' performance in these earlier games for the reason you just said, that they've played 3 games at home now, which means that they have been facing not the A team from their opponent. So I will be much more, you know, looking forward to when they go to Tampa, when they go to Carolina, when they're actually up against, you know, a full team of NHL opposition. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But still, not to say that things can't be learned or gleaned from the game that we saw last night.
Yeah, for sure. But you also want to weigh that appropriately. I thought it was interesting. We were talking to Andrew Brunette after the game about the performance, and he made, I thought, an interesting point. And people may want to argue this point, but I do think that there's just some truth in it. It's hard for veterans to get up for a game like this. And while, of course, the initial reaction is, you're a professional hockey player making $7 million, you better get out there and play against the U10 team if that's who you're facing. But there is something about that. I mean, these are guys who understand this game in a context. They understand their performance and their energy in a bigger context than 60 minutes. But still, you really, really don't want to lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning-ish, you know?
Well, and I will say, watching this game, one of my bigger takeaways, now again, it is preseason, it doesn't count. So I get that. But after what we saw from this team last year, down the stretch of last season, just how it was the death march to get to the end of the year. And they
Yeah.
looked so burnt out. And so they just looked like, a truck ran over them and then backed over them again. Like this whole team, they looked so beaten down last year. And it was nice to see them out there looking a little more free and loose. Like they looked like they were
Yeah.
actually kind of having some fun out there.
Yeah.
And that was, again, it's preseason, but that was nice to see. It's encouraging that, hey, we're not still living under the weight of
Mhm.
the season.
Yeah. Michael McCarron had such an interesting comment earlier in the week at training camp when we got a chance to talk to him. Just one of the questions that you want to ask these guys as you initially see them again is like, how did you process last season? How do you get to where you need to be for this season? And he was saying that he had just gone back and looked at their team photo from last year. And he was like, we looked miserable. We looked exhausted. And I was like, "Oh, I remember you all. You were a little haggard. You were a little haggard, friends."
So were we.
I know. You
You
also aged like two-term presidents, Michael McCarron.
right there with you.
Yeah. So yeah, it is good. You know who I think is out there having the most fun, and this will of course segue into what we do really want to talk about. Who the veteran who I see out there having the most fun right now is Filip Forsberg. He is living his best life with the young sprouts. There was one moment in the game, and this is just all Filip Forsberg all the time, and it was in the third period of the game. His stick got tangled up with somebody as he was skating. And so he passed it around his back, pulled it out, passed it around his back, and just continued to play hockey.
As one does.
As one does. Like he's
Yeah.
out there. But Filip Forsberg last night and in a previous game spent some time on a line with Brady Martin and Matthew Wood. And while there may be some players with the level of experience that Filip Forsberg has that would be like, no, just put me with my guys. He is living his best life with these young players. And they, I think, are really the recipients of such a great opportunity sharing ice time with Forsberg.
Yeah, because I said this, I think it was yesterday, that line is kind of a glimpse of the future. I'm not
Mm.
saying, and I never said the future as in this season, but maybe in the next couple years. That's kind of what you want. That's kind of the transition that you want, to have a veteran like Forsberg alongside two of your younger drafted and developed players. That's kind of the goal here. And so we've seen, how Forsberg makes those guys level up too. Like
Mhm.
he makes the guys around him play better. And that's a sign of a really good hockey player. And so I think that we've seen a lot. I mean, that line has been very fun to watch. The other line that has been very fun to watch that was together once again was the Haula Bunting-Marchessault line.
Yeah,
That's the spicy line. And
that's the spicy line.
I think that, again, it's early, reserving judgment, but those are three guys who are for sure going to be on the NHL roster this year. So
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that's probably your second line. I feel like that's probably your second line.
yeah,
Which means
yeah.
Fedor Svechkov down to the
Down
third.
a
But
notch.
I'm trying to, I'm picking my battles here right now, but
Yeah,
just of note.
yeah. Just don't be over dramatic. Just don't be over
Oh,
dramatic about it, Emma.
heaven forbid. No.
Keep it cool. Keep it cool. It was interesting. We talked to Michael Bunting after last night's game, and we're asking him about, how did the three of you come together and just have such quick chemistry? And he's like, we see the game the same way. We all have very similar style of play, similar spice level. But he did say, and I thought this was great, he's like, we didn't get that much time together on the ice this game because Marchie was in the penalty box. Jonathan Marchessault, friends, had 14 penalty minutes. He had some big feels. And I don't think he's probably a bit sorry about them either. So rock on,
Well,
Jonathan
I mean,
Marchessault.
when you're Jonathan Marchessault, Stanley Cup champion, Conn Smythe winner, etc., and a 19-year-old who no one's ever heard of is trying to pick a fight with you, maybe
No.
maybe sit down, young sprout. But
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah.
It was funny. Both Forsberg and Marchessault, the young Tampa players, were trying to go after the superstars, and it's like, all right, I get it. You're young and you're trying to prove yourself, and this is your shot, and you want to mix it up, and you're down to nothing. But let's maybe choose our battles a bit more wisely. Don't go after the veterans who are more than a decade older than you and 4 inches shorter than you.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
don't.
and also the two of them have 0 Fs in their bag.
Oh, no.
Forsberg and Marchessault, they have 0 Fs in their bag. So again, I agree with you. We saw it. Way to go. Way to go, young players, but also maybe next time, no. Speaking of young players that are maybe next time, yes, we're going to talk about Brady Martin and Matthew Wood and the pressure that they are putting on Andrew Brunette as he looks forward to the regular season. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you are ready for all those kickoffs with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You are going to love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, whether it's those player props or building a same-game parlay or jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's going to make every game even that much more interesting, whether you're cheering on your favorite team or keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Emma, talking about young players, we're going to focus on two of the young players on Nashville's roster that just have been knocking our socks off. And again, we don't want to take it too far. It is the preseason, but Brady Martin, in case you missed last night's game, had both goals for the Nashville Predators. And friends, this is what I said to my neighbor in Media Row. If that boy scores a hat trick, they will begin erecting a statue right next to Pecorine because there's a lot of excitement about Brady Martin. And of course, when you come out and you score your first NHL goal, it is the preseason. Technically, it doesn't count, but it's a really big deal to see him play well, to play well with somebody the level of Filip Forsberg. And we talked with him briefly after the game. It was so cute. He said, we were asking it's preseason, but how did it feel to score that first goal? And he's like, I've never scored a goal in front of so many people. And we were like, buddy, even more come in the regular season. Just you wait. It's really going to blow your barn boots off when the regular season hits and you score, friend. But Brady Martin, Emma, I love this. His shots came from the slot. This is a young man who knows it's not lava there. What do you see from him as he's playing with Filip Forsberg and getting these minutes and getting this opportunity? What stands out to you about him?
Well, a couple things. Number one, I think on that first goal, you saw him get right to the net, really get in those dirty areas, and you see him. He played really well. I thought. I mean, you said Forsberg, but I thought Brady Martin and Matthew Wood, the
Oh
connection
my
was really, really
gosh.
strong, which is exactly what you want to see for the future. So that's great. With Wood being the distributor and Martin being the finisher, I think that they worked really well together. That second one, the second goal was on the power play, and that one, I mean, that was almost Stamkosian. I felt the slap shot,
Mm-hmm.
from the circle. The one timer, just didn't even think about it. It was pure instinct, just went right for it. And so, like you said, the slot is not lava. You get the puck. Like both Martin and Wood, what I noticed about them for being as young and relatively inexperienced as they are is that they get the puck on their tape and they don't panic. They don't panic.
Yeah.
It's like they know exactly what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
They looked confident. They didn't look out of their league out there. And so that was kind of the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. You didn't look at them on the ice and say, okay, those are the young guys trying to get a spot. Because sometimes these young players come in the preseason, just like we talked about with Tampa Bay, you come in and you try to do too much to show the scope of what you can do. And I think there's wisdom in coming in and playing the game that's laid out in front of you. And I think both Brady Martin and Matthew Wood have such a great read on the game that is unfolding in front of them. And they're able to see what will be next. And while that takes time and skill to really consistently read at the NHL level, you see that they have that. And I think that's got to be really exciting. Talking about Matthew Wood, such a small sample size at the end of last season. And he worked really hard in the off season. He was talking about, I came away with some idea of like, okay, here are the things that I need to do. And he has done the work. I was so impressed with Matthew Wood, not just for the fact that he distributes the puck so quickly and so well. Here is the moment where I was like, Matthew Wood. So one of the young sprouts went after Filip Forsberg, and who comes skating in but Matthew Wood? And I'm like, I did not know that was who you were, Matthew Wood. There was another little scuffle along the boards, and who's there? Matthew Wood. So I thought, okay, I was not familiar with that portion of your personality, kind sir.
He Wood looked he looks very good. He has
Very
looked very
well.
good this entire camp. He wants this. He is playing like he is fighting for his life out there. And I think honestly, this is a guy that I thought maybe, could benefit from some more AHL time or any AHL time because he hasn't had any yet,
Right.
before he goes straight to the NHL. But I mean, and that still might be the case. But I think now I'm like, this is why I'm looking forward to seeing them play against more NHL level
Yes.
competition because I'm like, if he continues to play at this level, I don't see how they don't put him on the opening night roster because he's been easily one of their best players
Yes.
throughout the preseason.
Yeah. And that's games where you saw the top guys. Matthew Wood was still the player that you left that game saying, oh, wow, I really noticed his game. I agree with you. I think these next two preseason games where you are playing more of the NHL roster of the opponent is going to tell you a lot. But honestly, if I were a betting girl, and I'm not because there's just not enough Xanax, I would say he's going to hold up well. And this is where Andrew Brunette finds himself. It is a blessing and a curse because Andrew Brunette has to decide who is going to be on that opening night roster. Now, in the post game, of course, he talked about both Martin and Wood. And he's like, look, you cannot dismiss, he was asked, is it realistic? Like, is there a realistic chance Brady Martin makes the roster? And he's like, you can't dismiss what he's doing. I can't not watch and take into account what he's doing. He also liked Joachim Kimmel's game, which I thought was interesting. Kimmel time on the first power play unit. He's also getting penalty kill time, which I think is a very interesting way to learn more about his game and how he kind of plays both ends of the ice. So I've liked what we've seen from him. These are interesting times, folks, because remember, We still don't have Luke Evangelista. Zachary Leroux is on the longest maintenance day. Oh, look, sarcasm balloons rising up. Sarcasm balloons. And I am being sarcastic because Zach Leroux is on the longest maintenance day you ever did see. And he will not practice again today. So we don't know for sure any more details than that. The last we heard was maintenance day. So there's a lot going on when it comes to these forwards and opening night, health of players, and who is showing up. And it's a great problem to have, but I don't envy Andrew Brunette having to decide what he is going to do with this roster when it comes to opening night. Because again, remember, as exciting as it is, the Nashville Predators have got to win games from the get-go. They got to win games.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you mentioned, of course, the Evangelista situation still not resolved. Leroux, we have no idea what's going on there. We don't have an update on him. Positive news, though. We did find out that today, Wednesday, the Weisblatt brothers are back and they are going to be skating with the team on Wednesday at training camp. So that's a positive. Now, that doesn't mean, oh, for sure, Ozzy's making the roster, but it adds a new sort of wrinkle into this whole situation, this forward situation that is now a bit more open than I think we thought it was, in terms of, who could get those final couple spots and how many spots are actually available now. Because again, Evangelista, Leroux, big question marks right now. We have no idea. So of note, there could be some options there. I mean, you think like if Evangelista and Leroux are not available to start the season for whatever reason, I mean, Wood, to me, put him on the roster. Absolutely. I think that he looks fantastic. We'll see what Ozzy looks like today and for the rest of camp, but I think he's a great candidate as well, particularly for that fourth line. So we'll see. I'm very much looking forward to seeing them play against actual NHL competition.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge to really know for sure how close Brady Martin is, how ready Matthew Wood is. So it's something that we're going to have to keep our eye on this weekend as they travel to Tampa Bay and Carolina this weekend for games against those two teams. There's going to be some good competition there. Coming up, it's not all sunshine and unicorns at training camp. We still have some concerns partway through the preseason. Emma and I are going to share with you the things that still have us feeling a little unnerved about this team. All right, Emma, talking about the things that are exciting, Brady Martin, Matthew Wood, how some of these young players are performing. Of course, love this Marchessault-Hala Bunting line when Marchie's not sitting in the sin bin thinking about what he's done. But here's one of my biggest concerns, and it's a little bit hard to quantify. So I'm a little bit eye testing this. So forgive me that I can't back it with statistics in the preseason. While I think individually we are seeing much better performances from the veterans than we saw at, last season at the end of the season, I don't think I've yet seen that collectively feel reassuring. As in, like, I think individual players are playing better, are very focused, but I haven't seen in scrimmages, in the very limited preseason games where we've seen some of these veteran lines together, I'm not sure that I have seen collective like line chemistry and improvement. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's a little unnerving to me.
Yes, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, we have no idea if these lines are going to be the lines that we see. There's still 54 players in camp. That's a lot. And so I think that, yes, I get what you're saying, and it's definitely unnerving after last year.
Yeah.
but I'm not too worried about it yet, just because it's still so early in camp. There's still twice the number of players there that are going to end up being there. So I think that now it's not an excuse. I'm not saying like, whatever, but I think that my concern level isn't that high yet,
Yeah.
but it is worth noting for sure. I think some things like maybe, discipline, of course, Jonathan Marchessault. Let's not get a 10-minute misconduct in a preseason game. Okay. Let's not do that.
It was so great. Don't be so dramatic, Jonathan Marchessault.
Yes, truly. Did you see the Preds Twitter account on Media Day? They posted it was the pick a card challenge, and
Yes.
Ryan O'Reilly had to do his best Marshy impression. And he was like in a French accent. He's like, "Oh, pass the puck," and I was like, "That's what he looks like out there." He's like, "Ugh." So yeah,
Y'all
very
go look that up. It is
yes,
hilarious. It is
very
hilarious.
dramatic, very French Canadian. But yes, I think discipline's an issue. I mean, for goodness sake, we didn't even talk about Fedor Svechkov committing a penalty at the 0-second
0
mark.
seconds.
Like a
Who
face-off
knew?
zone
Who
infraction?
knew?
Like, what? And so they started the game on the penalty kill, Nashville did. So it was like, all right. And again, that was where we saw Kimmel getting a lot of penalty kill time. It was
Yeah.
Kimmel with Erik Haula.
Yeah.
Where, they looked good on the penalty kill together. And I'm like, I would not have picked Joachim Kimmel. Like, I would not have
Never in a
looked at
million
him and
years.
been like, he's probably good on the kill.
Yeah.
But I think it's good. It's good opportunity for him to learn and to get reps, and not, even if he doesn't end up playing on the penalty kill at the NHL level, doing it here gives you the chance to really develop your defensive responsibility
Yes.
and learn that it's like you got to be a two-way player, especially at this level. So I think that was good. But I mean, Svechkov with that early penalty, I think, yes, they killed it. They killed the penalty, but I really would say Juuse Saros killed that penalty.
Juuse
Juuse Saros,
Saros killed that penalty.
he faced 5 shots on that on that penalty kill, and then he didn't face a darn thing the rest of the time he was out there. So it
Yeah.
was like baptism by fire. So I think, like, obviously, as they say, your goaltender needs to be your best penalty killer, and he was. But I think that it's a little bit more like, that's good to see, that's great to see, but we
Mhm.
would also like to see a little bit more cohesion on the penalty
Yeah.
kill. But again,
Yeah.
concern level, I'm still at watching with one eyebrow raised.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this, the one thing that I found really reassuring was how good Saros has looked. And just how calm he has looked. And you want to talk about baptism by fire, literally, friends, it was like shot, 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 shot. And then I think he faced one, maybe two more the entire rest of the time he was in net. Now, Ananen came in halfway through the game. But yeah, UC Saros, I think, has looked very, very good in the preseason. Again, will be great to see him against these NHL teams, just for another confidence boost. Emma, when you look at this team, what we have seen in training camp, what we've seen in these preseason games, where is your confidence level that they are going to be different than we saw last season? Or do you feel like you have a read on that yet?
No, I don't, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, it's like early camp. We're still in early camp. And I know
Mhm.
I keep saying that and I keep harping on that, but you talk to these guys and they'll tell you the vibe is so different. Like I said the other
It
day,
is.
I was talking to another NHL player from a different organization, and he said, it's just kids flying around. There's so many kids flying around. And it's like, that does add a different element to it. And so I think that I can't get a read on it yet, but I'm not overly concerned that I don't have a read on it yet, just
Mhm.
because like I'll be more concerned if I still don't have a read on it in a week or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when I'll be more concerned. But right now, it's really just kind of about getting your reps in, getting your legs under you, and I think that we'll go from there. But I still think it's too early. I know everyone, us included, we're so desperate to move on from last year and to be like, that's in the past. We don't have to think about that again. So I know it's very tempting to want to be like, oh, that looked good. That looked good. Okay, so that's a
Mhm.
sign we're moving on. And it's like, well, I don't know yet. Maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't know. And so
Mhm.
it's an exercise in patience, which is difficult for me as in general. I am not a patient person. It's one of my main flaws. I think I'm not a patient person. So it's difficult for me too. But I think that you're gonna see, or you're not gonna see the truest version of this team right now in
Yeah.
camp, because there's still so many freaking people there.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, and I am also in that space where I want to see something meaningful to be able to take away. And this is what I will say, in talking to the players, in talking to the veterans over the course of the training camp so far. And yes, they come out there and no veteran's going to come out and be like, yeah, you know what? I have 0 Fs to give about this season. Nobody's going to say that. But in a lot of ways you can get a read on them. And I think vibe wise, these guys are very dialed in. I think they take what happened last season extremely seriously. They take it extremely personally, what happens. And so I think that there is a lot of intentionality. I think that there is a lot of focus. I think there's a lot of self reflection. The vibes are good at camp. I feel a little nervous because I feel very good about where this team is mentally, but I'm not yet seeing that convert for some of these veterans on ice. And you're right. Maybe when we get a little closer and we have a better idea of who is going to be with who, it's going to come together. It's very hard to be patient with this team at this point. And so I'm so thankful for the Brady Martins and the Matthew Woods and the Joachim Kimmels who are coming in and are showing something different. And there is excitement about them. And there should be. This is not manufactured excitement. Like, these guys really are showing up, these young players showing up and presenting themselves as very close to being NHL ready. I just want to see the NHLers show me that they are NHL win ready. And it just hasn't come together. So I will try to be more patient, Emma, but for the love, maybe this weekend. Maybe this weekend will be the weekend that we get to see it. Hopefully the veterans will travel this weekend. I think because it's back to backs, I would assume that most all of the team will travel.
Again, I just go back to training camp is not for the veterans. It's not.
Yeah.
And that, like, you're not going to see the same level of urgency from them. And I get it. You want to be like, hey, you're making $9 million. Go out there and play your heart out. But it's like, you need to kind of prioritize and reserve your energy. So I think that I'm not saying that they don't take it seriously or they don't care,
Mhm.
but I am, it's a valid concern, but it's one that it's not totally top of mind for me yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready to just not carry it, Emma. I'm
I
ready
hear
to
you.
just not worry about this. Like, I
I
just am ready
listen.
to say, "Hey, look, that's a line that looks like the vintage Swedish meatballs and Ryan O'Reilly." Like, that's what I want to see. And, whether it is circumstantial, whether it is, it is circumstantial, but also, it's hard not to feel like, okay, is it circumstantial and they're not there yet? So it's just something to keep an eye on and be mindful during camp. It's just another thing for Anne to worry about. So we have that
We
going
know
for
how
us.
you worry.
You
We
know
know
how
how
I
you worry.
worry. You know how I worry. Do want to wrap up the show just with a quick shout out to Terry Crisp and Pete Weber. Absolute freaking legends who really are, in a lot of ways, the people who made Smashville, because these guys were boots on the ground when this all kicked off, and they really helped bring in this community to love and embrace hockey and the Nashville Predators and the NHL. And look, the NHL, they love Nashville. The NHL loves us. I guess it's because we don't take up a lot of their time. I don't know. But they love us. But Terry Crisp and Pete Weber, it was announced yesterday, are going to be the newest inductees into the Golden Hall of Fame. So just wanted to shout them out. Absolute freaking legends, those two.
Just two of the biggest personalities I have
Yes.
met working in hockey. I mean, you get Pete and Crispy together in a room, especially, but even just one of the two of them, I mean, just sit back and enjoy. They're true characters. Pete Weber and I also share a birthday, and I said, look, when I moved to Nashville, I have never felt more irrelevant than, I share a birthday with Dolly Parton and Pete Weber, two Nashville legends. So I'm like, wow, okay, that put me in my place real quick.
Yeah.
So definitely so deserving, both fantastic individuals. So congrats to them.
Yeah, love that for them. Of course, we are going to keep our eyes on the ice and on training camp. Emma and I will let you know what we hear from practices today, how things are going with the team. And we're going to keep prepping ourselves, calming ourselves, getting ready for the regular season. So make sure you tune in each and every weekday here. We're going to bring you the latest in Nashville Predators news as we go. Emma, before we log off on this Wednesday, let everyone know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that is going to do it for our Wednesday edition of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks again so much for making us your first listen of the day. We hope you have a fabulous Wednesday. We'll see you here tomorrow.